Good evening, everyone. Here I am Viraj Nyandev Utekar coming with a cloud management session. So in this, we are has been already been defined. We are going to understand the important questions from the exam point of view in the cloud management. So we will go to the unit wise. So from the previous session, we have understand the two question from this particular first unit, for which was first we have understood the definition of a cloud management, what exact the cloud management is, and then we have understood the categories of systems and outages, and second one was the high availability. First one was categories of system and outages, and second one was high availability. Explain in detail the high availability, what exact is the high availability. Now in this third, we are going to understand third question. It can be like availability, define availability, reliability, or and serviceability of system. So basically, as defined availability, we have defined it in the previous session also. Let us again go through it quickly through the revision of it. What exactly is availability? So availability is basically the proper functioning of the system before any failure occurs. That means the system is being normal provisions of services by the systems to the users before any incident occurs. That means whenever the incident occurs, even if the system has a capability to be responsive with correct output within the time, and able to protect themselves within in the failure situation, then that system is known to be as an high available system, high availability system. So in this availability, what we have defined, the first point was the system availability can be defined the proper functioning of a system before any failure occurs. High availability, sorry, availability, let's go with availability. What we had defined, the first point, the proper functioning of a system before any failure occurs. This provision of services, normal services by the system to the users before any failure occurs. Third point can be after the failure occurrences, the system having the capability to be responsive, then that system is known to be as a high available system. Fourth point can be defined as the availability can be defined with a given metric such as uptime upon downtime plus uptime. So this can be the matrix defined for the availability. So next comes reliability. So in this reliability, what exactly we can define is the proper functioning of a system, the system which we are relying upon, how much accurate response it is given even under the failure condition. That system can be defined as a reliability system. Then the reliability can be defined with a given matrix as MTTR, mean time to repair, upon MTBF plus MTTR. This can be the matrix defined for the reliability. The reliability can be defined, that means the systems, the users which are relying upon the services, whether the systems on which the services are being dependent, whether it is a proper functioning or not, so that we can able to rely upon that particular service. So this can be defined as a reliability. Then comes a serviceability. Serviceability can be defined as the average time it takes to repair that particular systems within the failure. That can be defined as serviceability can be defined the total or the average time it takes to maintain that particular systems. That means service for the particular each and every thing we can we do servicing. Like for the system also, we can it can be the serviceability or maintainability is a proper word. So it can be defined as a total of amount of total amount inverse amount of time upon the number of crash of a systems throughout its lifespan. That can be defined as a serviceability. And serviceability, one more point is that the good serviceability can give the good availability as well as good reliability. This can be defined as serviceability. So we have discussed the third question which was define the availability, reliability and serviceability of a system. So in order to talk about the fourth questions can be defined as what is the public, private and hybrid cloud. So this was a fourth question. This is a fourth question. So basically, in order to define this question, so basically we have to understand what exact is the first the public cloud. So before understanding the public cloud, here there will be the some public cloud services available onto the public. So we first, in order to define the public cloud is public cloud is built over internet. Public cloud is built over internet. So as public clouds are built over the internet, the public cloud services will be provide on the particular internet only, network. So basically this internet is actually owned by the service providers. Now, so basically if we want to access any particular services over the internet, we pay to the subscriptions, we give subscription to the service providers, and then we access to the network only, no. So that is why it is defined as the public cloud services are owned by the service provider. So users, in order to access the public cloud services, have to give the subscription to the service provider, and then they can get access to the public cloud services. So this can be defined as a second point. Third point can be, as the public cloud is publicly available, it will be less cost. So this can be one of the advantage of the public cloud. But as it is of less cost, there will be the less security for the public cloud services, as well as there will be the less extent to the features according to our requirement. That means there will be the not customized extent to the features, as it is a less secure public cloud. But if you talk about private cloud, now let's go move to the private cloud. So in this private cloud is built over the particular intranet. Private cloud is built over the intranet. The private cloud services can be accessed by particular organization or institution. The normal users or a small business or the small business cannot access the private cloud services cause it is very much expensive. This can be the disadvantage of private cloud. It is much more expensive. That's why the small business cannot go with the private cloud services. But as it is very much expensive, advantages will be there will be the much more tight security, very tight security, and as well as there will be the some extent to the features to be given to the users. Extend in features will be given to the users in this private cloud. Then third comes hybrid cloud. So basically what exact the hybrid cloud? Hybrid, as it name it define, combination of both public plus private. So this can be the combination of so hybrid cloud is basically the combination of both public plus private cloud. So in this hybrid cloud, the combinations is being combined on all the positive points of both private cloud as well as public cloud, private clouds as well as public cloud. So basically from the public cloud, the less cost will be taken, that is a positive point will be taken from this public cloud, and from the private cloud, security will be taken, this positive point will be taken from the private cloud, and they will be combined and they will be put into the cloud that is known as a hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud. So the small organizations who cannot purchase the service of a private cloud, which is very much expensive, can go with this hybrid cloud solution. So this is how we have discussed about the public, private and hybrid cloud. So now next comes the fifth question. Fifth question is the principal approach. Discuss the principal approach to plan and realize a disaster recovery. Discuss the principal approach to plan and realize disaster recovery. So we have to understand this question. So basically what this question say is, what are the approaches, what are the strategies, or what are the plan you will take before the occurrence of a disaster to make out a recovery from this disaster. So this was the question defined. So basically, in order to go with this answers for the following point to be maintained for this particular question, the first you have to understand, in order to principal approach to plan and realize a disaster recovery was similar approach is a similar approach to plan and realize the high availability. Now, in the term of an high availability, what we have defined, in order to high availability we have to satisfy the user requirement, we have to maintain all the things from time to time. So that same approach has been followed, but in this in occurrences, before occurrence of a disaster recovery, we have to define certain strategies, so that it should not be that when the disaster occur and then we will take the steps, then we will not able to give the strong response to any disaster occurrences, and we will not able to start back the services within the time. So for that there is a requirement of an proper strategies and proper planning. So this can be defined. The first point is determine the objectives. So in this determine objective, we have to identify the systems. In first point is determine the objectives. So what is this point define? We have to determine what exact should be protected. That means we have to identify the systems. We have to identify the systems that need a disaster recovery, determine the recovery time objective and recovery point objectives, determine the RTO and RPO, then identify the users and departments that are being affected, then can be the identify the responsibilities of an IT staffs and the business processes. So we have to determine before you can say it is a planning phase. Basically we have to define certain objectives that before implementation we have to define, like if if this disaster occurs, what are the things we need to protect, what are the steps we have to take, who will carry out this work, who should the responsibilities to be given, identify the users and the departments that are affected. So we have to create we have to determine the objectives. Then after the determining the objectives, we have to create a conceptual design. Now in this conceptual design, we have to create a conceptual design. That means we have to define the certain strategies. The strategies should be independent of each other. That means suppose if I define I want to protect this system, so I will define one strategies. So before the disaster occurs, I will define the strategies. So that strategies should not be the single strategies, there should be the multiple strategies behind. So basically whenever the incident occurs or the disaster occurs, we are ready to give the strong response to that disaster by applying this strategy at that time. So if one strategy is not work, we have the another in backup, so we can apply that, so by which one of the strategies can work and we can give this response to this strong response to that particular occurrence and disaster. So that means our main motive is that services should not be down, so we will try to recover by defining the certain strategies. And for that, the strategies we are defining, we need to check that the resources are maintained, whether the proper skilled persons are being defined or roles are being defined for the person who is going to carry out this task. So for that we require the proper skills and experienced person who are going to play these roles, who will take the responsibility to give the strong response for the disaster recovery. Then third point, so this is defined in the create a conceptual design. Now third comes create a system design. So now in this design we itself know, create a system design. So in this create a system design, we have to create a diagrams, the systems related diagrams. That means the systems on which much more services are dependent, and there can be not a single system, there can be the multiple systems. So we have to define the systems with a higher priorities. That means if the services are dependent on this system, this should be given the first priority. And if the services again it is dependent on other next systems, so this can be given as a second priority. So we have to define the clear diagram, that means a relationship should be maintained, showing a relationship diagram with the systems. Third priority, this system should be given as a third priority, by which we get a clear understanding that yes, this system is been given a high priority, so I have to recover this system first. This system is given the second priority, so I have to recover this system second. So this system is been given a third priority, so I have to recover this system at the third position. So this can be defined as by making the clear system design. Then after we have defined all the strategies, designs, and then it's a time for then it's a time for implement a solution, implement solution. Now whatever we have defined, every phase, whatever we plan, then whatever we design, now whatever we analyze, and whatever we environment we create, after that each phase, after each phase that with after this particular phase, there will be the phase of an implementation phase. By this implementation phase only we will get an output. Whatever the strategies we define, for that the strategies need to be put somewhere into that implementation environment, then only we'll get an output. So this only the implementation solution tells. So whatever the tools that are required, that should be present into this implementation, so that we can with a proper IT skills people and experienced people, we can able to achieve the goal what we have thought for the disaster recovery of according to the defined strategies and planning. So this is what implementation solution says. Then the fifth point says define the process. Define the process. So in this define process. After implementation of the strategies is been done, we have to define in somewhere in the form of a report or documentation it may be. So why we require to report somewhere? So the reason I'll tell you that whenever if the same scenario occurs in future case, so this documentation can be referred for that, or if any new trainee is been joined, so that documentation can be referred by this trainee. So whenever the any same scenario or the same event occurs, disaster occurs, or the particular incident occurs, or disaster, due to the disaster there can be the various effect. So this documentation can be referred by this new trainee. So that's why it's an important to define this process somewhere in the form of a report or documentation it may be. Now 6th point comes understand, or it may be update the design and implementation as and when required, as when needed. So basically, as I have told, sorry, it is dust through the dustbin. So through the duster it's been rubbed. So 6th point what we have defined was update the design, update the design and implementation as when needed. So in this as what we have defining in this question, whenever the disaster occurs, what planning we should take, or how the planning should be taken, what all the strategies we need to define, and after the strategy we have to implement that solution. After that implementation we have to define it somewhere. But the disaster, when the disaster occurs, it never affect only the single thing. Due to the disaster occurs, there can be the multiple effect, there can be the other effects also. So for that the document which we are referring that we have referred to the previous point, that through the define the process, so there we required some change in the documentation, cause there when the disaster occurs, then can be the other effect too. So we need to change, we need to update the document as and when required. We need to change the document only when there is needed. We have to not change it purposely. cause that documentation is been created or implemented with a various defined strategies with a experienced skilled person, so that can never go wrong. But whenever there is a time required or whenever there is a need, we need to change update the document, because whenever disaster occurs there can be the new effect can be done. So for that purpose we can go for an updations of that document, or we can keep as it is. So this is what we have defined into this question, fifth question. So now let's move forward for this time for the sixth question. We have to understand hard and soft product. Hard and soft product. So basically we have to understand hard and soft products. As you know, the IT infrastructures, in IT infrastructures, the main important of an backbone of an IT infrastructures are this both hard and soft products. So basically we as a user want to access the services, but the service provider who are providing the services, they need these both are main important hand, you can say the brothers of both walk hand in hand in order to make that particular implementation of the service available to till the users. So in order to talk about the hard products are the physical infrastructures of an particular organizations or service provider, where in using which the actual services is been implemented to get access by the users. This can be the hard product. And the soft product is basically the interfaces between the users and the service provider, or you can say the services. The soft product is basically the interface between the users and services, so users can get access to the service through this soft product. It is not like that only it is works as an interface. The hard product like physical infrastructures also contains the soft product within it, for making that particular hard product reliable or more faster or much more secured. So this can be involved, the soft product can also be involved into this hard product. So this is what we can define or we can explain the hard and soft product. But the hard and soft product are main both backbone for the IT infrastructures in term of a service provision. So we have discussed the sixth question. Now let's go for the seventh. So understand this seventh question carefully, because the whiteboard is too small for this question, I think so. What are the different ways of softwares and tools licensing? So this is one question, and another is connected question back behind. So I thought that you have might note down that question. So next question is, so yes, this was a question, and the next connected question is, what are the considerations involved in software tool, cloud and virtualized infrastructures. Cloud software tool, cloud and virtualization licensing. We are talking about your licensing. So basically, in order to understand this question, so basically the softwares and the tools can be licensed in order to access the particular software. You may be say on software, so we require a particular license for that software. So whether we are using for the any organization purpose or education purpose or any governmental purpose, so basically we require the license for that. If that software is any third party based, or if the software is been created by the own organization, then they do not require a license. But if the software is third party based, then the third party will keep the licensing, because they have to get a return on investment on the product that they have created. So this is only can be defined. In order to access this particular software, there will be the licenses will be kept. So in order to understand what are the different ways of the softwares and the tools licensing, softwares, the answer of this question is softwares or the tools maybe licensed on the one time basis or perceptual from time to time basis. That means the license can be based either one time payment, or it can be from time to time, like for the 3 months, after 3 months we have to pay again, and after 3 months we have to pay again. And or it can be the single one, 12 months, that means whole 1 year payment it will take at one time. So this can be the licensing can be done. So softwares and the tools can be licensed by first flat fee for the single or multiple copies, with or without and support. So flat fee, they can take a flat fee like for the 12 months with or without and support. Then second comes no time limit until you buy the new versions. Once you have access or once you have taken the license, there is no time limit until you buy the new versions. That means when there is a new release of an versions and there is an additional features, so there might be until you finish this particular time period, your session will not be deducted until there is a new version. When they launch a new versions with some additional features, then you have to pay some extra subscription for these additional features, then only you will get the access to these features. But till then you will not have been interrupted with these particular sessions. So this is what it define, no time limit until you buy the new version. Then third comes limited time during using the trial versions or software get updates. Basically whenever you are using any free trial versions, so each that trial period has some end date. After that end date we have to pay the subscription in order to get actual access of that particular versions. So this is only defined limited time period for the free trial users. And then fourth point comes this licensing softwares that have been licensed can be used by any commercial, for commercial, education or government purpose, or for the personal use. For the personal use also the licenses is been kept. Then fifth come enterprise or organization wide and site based. This was the fifth point. Then comes the sixth, individual applications, systems, servers and workstation. The software which are been licensed can be used by the individual applications, systems, then servers or then workstations. Then seventh point, the physical servers or the workstation instances can be accessed to this licensed softwares. Then what was the next part of question was what are the consideration involved in the software, tool, cloud and virtualization licensing. So basically in this actual question what we are talking about the licensing. In order to get a software, what are the different ways of the software and the tools licensing, and what are the consideration involved in the software, tools, cloud and virtualization licensing. So first what we have saw that what are the different ways of the software and the tools licensing. So in this I will repeat once again. Flat fee per the single or multiple copies with or without and support, no time limit until you buy the new versions, limited time during for the free trial users. So licensing and software licensing can be used by the any commercial, education, government or for the personal use. It can be also be accessed by the enterprise or the organization or a site based. It can be accessed for the individual application, system, servers or workstation, or it can be any physical server or workstation instances. Then next part of the question comes the software, tool, cloud and virtualization license consolidation involve the following considerations. That means whenever the licensing for the virtual environment should involve the contracts and system administrators. Then comes the software licensing should be included as a part of an IT resources capacity plan forecast processes. That means whenever we want to access the resources of a particular, we require a proper licensing. We have to pass through the licensing because there are the resources that have been distributed by the providers. So they cannot be for longer much time. They cannot be provided as a free resources. They have to put the certain subscriptions for the so whether it may be the virtual environment. So we are talking about here the virtual environments. When allocating the virtual machines from template, be sure that a provision license available. Next come know how and when virtual machines is counted? Is it an annual spot check or an average? Then have a license review performed to ensure that you are getting the best return on investment on the resources. So these are the 10 points of a software and how the software and the tools can be licensed, and what are the considerations involved for the software tools, cloud, and virtual licensing. Next come the eighth question. Now this is one of the important question. What are the different issues in data center management? So this is one of the important question is what are the different issues in data center management. So in order to understand, first issue in the data center management is making common users happy. So actually in this I am highlighting the main points for that, so that you can define the further points on your own. So making the common users happy. So this is one of the major issues in the data center management phase. So basically, as the service provider signs and service level agreement with users, so it's a responsibility of a service provider to maintain that users requirement or the services satisfied of the users according to the defined SLAs up to the 30 years. Now this is also one major issues faced by the data center management. If not, then user has a right to raise an escalation that service provider is trying to breach the service level agreement. Of course they have taken the money, and now when it comes to the provision of the service is not available, so users have right to raise an escalation, and user by which the organization or the service provider will have to suffer. So for that, making the common users happy is one of the major issues faced by the data center management. Then comes control the information flow. You can name on its name define control the information flow. This is also one of the major issues faced by the data center management. So in this point, what you can mention is a single point that the the information flow should be streamlined. That is one of the major issues faced by the data center management, that is a control information flow. Then next third point comes multi-users manageability. Multi-users manageability. Now in this multi-users manageability, as the services are not going to be accessed by the single user, the services are going to be accessed by the multiple users from different corner of the world. So basically, for that we have the service provider or the particular data center management have to check that the resources are up to date. It should not be like that when the user access the services, and due to the load of that particular multi-users accessing at the same time, the entire servers will be down. So this is also one of the major issues faced by the data center management is multi-users manageability. Then fourth comes scalability to prepare. Scalability to prepare for the database growth. So as when services will be in demand, the users will increase. When users will increase, their customized requirement will also increase, and for that there will be the increase growth into the database. So this is what it defined scalability. In order to scale up, that means in order to increase the database growth according to the user requirement suddenly, it also one of the major issues faced by the data center management. Then comes reliability in virtualized infrastructures. Reliability in virtualized infrastructure. So basically now the systems that on which the services are being dependent, are that systems are reliable systems, whether that systems are properly functioning or not, so that we are relying upon that particular infrastructures, whether it will give the correct services or not. So this is also to check, maintain from the time to time. Reliability of an virtualized infrastructures is also one of the major issues faced by the data center management. Then comes the next is low cost to both. Low cost, that means low cost what services to both users and provider. So basically, now this is important in order to provide this many features, so that the services can be accessed by the users according to the customer's requirement, and to provide with a low cost. So what is the benefit for the particular data center management? So this is also one of the major issues faced by the data center management. Then comes data protections and security enforcement. Data protections and security enforcement. So again, in order to provide the security to the services that are going to be accessed by the users with the low cost, so what the data center management will be get? Nothing. So this is also one of the major issues faced by the data center management, is to providing the data protection to the services. Protecting the data with a low cost is also one of the major issues, or the issues in the data center management. Then comes green information technology. As you know, for the particular if green information technology, as you know, the servers that are kept into the data centers are online or on 24 hours. So basically, just imagine the electric consumption of the particular data center power. So that's why we cannot able to consume the less electric consumption. That the green information tells that only, no, we have to consume the less electric consumption. This is also one of the difficult different issues, one of the issues faced by the data center management. So these are the 8 different issues faced by the data center management. First one was making a common users happy. Second is control the information flow. Third is multi-users manageability. Fourth is scalability to prepare for the database growth. Fifth is the reliability in virtualized infrastructure. Sixth is low cost to both users and providers. Seventh is data protection and security enforcement. Eighth is green information technology. So this was the 8th question we have discussed. Now we will go for the 9th question. So see soon how we are coming to an end of an first unit. So this is the 9th question till now we have discussed. So for in this 9th question we have to understand with respect to the disaster recovery. Now this is also one of the important questions it may ask. First we have to, there are the various questions under this single question. First let us understand what exact is major outage or disaster. This can be asked as a single or with a multiple. So basically, in order to understand the major outage, now from the previous sessions we have understand what exact was outage. The outage is basically makes an entire environment disturb or down due to the occurrence of an incident. Now this incident can be the catastrophic event which can be it can involve the earthquake, tsunami, etc. So the outages which we have the solution, that means the outages which have make the entire environment disturbed, the outages which has been prior occurred and we have give the low priority raised for that particular outage, and we have that solution for that problem, so that can take a less time. But the outages which are new to us, that can take a much more time, that are given as a higher priority flag, so that outages are also known as a major outage. So whenever there is a major outage, the users will have to wait for much more time. So this is basically the service provider have to take the responsibility whenever there is a major outage. That outage particularly should as soon as possible they should need to be resolved, because the users are much more important for the service provider. The users will not wait for much more time. So that needs to be fixed whenever there is a major outage. And disaster, in order to talk about a disaster, is in normal word is basically a catastrophic event that can be earthquakes, tsunami, floods, etc., which can make an entire environment very much disturbance and down. So basically a disaster can cause give the heavy loss also for the service provider, cause whenever the services is been down and the users requirement are not being satisfied, the user will not wait for much more time and they will just cut their services. So this is how the disaster can make the heavily impact to the service provider. Next come second comes declaration of disaster. Declaration of disaster. So now in the previous we have discussed that disaster makes an entire environment disturbed. It can give some heavily loss to the particular service provider, because the user's requirement, whenever it not be satisfied, they will not continue the services with them. So basically why they will not continue services? Your mistake, the service provider mistake has been somewhere. No, they should have been given the declaration of a disaster occurrence to the service provider. How will service provider will know? So basically I have got an internet connection, Wi-Fi connections on my home, and service provider is my B location. So suddenly my connection is gone of the Wi-Fi. So basically how could I know that what is the problem of this? From past 2 days I am not getting even a single connection of this. So in my as a user, I am as a user will not continue that particular service provider only. If that's in order to prevent, if that service provider was too responsible, he should have given me the declaration, he should have me given certain notification, so that I could able to know that yes, there is a certain disaster or there is a certain problem occurred due to which the services has been down. So for that it's an important for the service provider to notify or to notify the users, or to declare the users of the disaster, so that users will not raise an escalation against the service provider. Then third comes recovery time objective. Recovery time objective. In the previous we have heard this basically like RTO, recovery time objective. So basically recovery time objective defines the average time it takes that to entire when in the failure condition, in the whenever the disaster occurs, in that the total time it take to recover that entire particular data in order to start back the normal services. This can be defined the recovery time or recovery time objectives. Then comes the fourth, recovery point objective. Recovery point objectives. The recovery point objectives can be defined as the point from which, after recovering the entire data from this recovery time objectives, after which the point from which it's normal started back the normal provision of services can be defined as a recovery point objective. The point after which the normal provision of services, it can be defined after the recovery, can be defined as a recovery point objective. Then comes the disaster recovery. I'm sorry the video is getting too much long, but it's an important, as we are finishing the one unit in the single video. It's very much big thing, disaster recovery. So in this disaster recovery, so basically the disaster, in order to talk about the disaster recovery, so as the disaster occurs, when the disaster occurs, as it makes the entire environment disturb, yes it will make, because we cannot stop this disaster, but we can prevent it. How we can prevent? We can prevent with a proper planning and proper strategies, so by which we can give the strong response to the disaster occurrence, and we can recover our services from these disaster occurrences. So with a proper planning only and with the proper strategies only, we can give the strong response to the disaster, and we can recover our system in order to provide back the normal services again. So if basically we should take the proactive step. With a proactive step only we will understand in the next step. That next step is the 6 disaster recovery planning. Now it itself what we have discussed was a disaster recovery planning. So basically, in order to recover the service from disaster, we have to have the proper planning and proper strategies. With this only we can able to give the strong responses to the disaster, and we can recover our service back. So in this planning also, the planning should be proactive. The planning should be independent planning. That means there will be the multiple strategies, and these strategies should be independent, not similar strategies. That even if the one strategies does not work, we can have the backup at the next strategies, and we can put that in front of the disaster, so it can give the strong response to the disaster, and within that time we can recover our entire services back to the normal again. So this can be defined as a planning, and with a planning only we can do, with the proactive steps only we can do that. We can recover the services from the disaster. If we take reactive steps, nothing we will achieve. Only we will achieve one thing, that is loss. Then comes the 7.77. These are the questions that has been asked, that they can give in the form of an discuss or define these following points. 7 can be the primary and disaster recovery recovery system. Primary and disaster recovery systems, as we have defined this also. So basically the systems on which much more services have been dependent, that services should be given as much higher priority, and the services on which not that much services are dependent should be raised and low priority. If that system, even if it is not recovered, it will be fine, cause it is not that much important, and it will take less load for the systems on which higher priority are being defined, and to recover the entire service back according to the signed SLAs. So this can be defined as a primary and disaster recovery systems. मग आता 8 can point question can ask like this. Under the sub question, the point 8 point it can ask like discuss the primary and disaster recovery site. Now this is also one of the strategy, disaster recovery site. Disaster recovery sites. So basically this is also one of the strategies. So basically, suppose the disaster is going to occur on A locations and our next branch is at B location. So basically, how much time it will take to relocate from A location to B locations before the disaster occurs. So this can be defined with this point, primary and disaster recovery sites. So in order to recover from this disaster, how much time it will take to relocate to the B location, B branch location, and within, so that the services cannot be stopped, there will be no down of in services. So this is how the primary and disaster recovery sites can be defined as. So till now we have understand the 9 questions. Now our 10th question will be like 10th question is one of the again important. Explain high availability and disaster recovery architecture. So in this you have to understand this very carefully. So basically basically we have to understand, explain in order high, we have to understand how we can make it a high availability and recover from this disaster. For that there is one architecture defined. So the to define this question answers, the high availability and the disaster recovery architecture may vary depending upon uptime, scalability, and the cost requirements. It totally depend upon uptime, scalability, and cost requirements. So there are the various cloud deployment options. Now the cloud deployment option, first one is a basic Understand this carefully. Yeah? The first one is a basic cloud deployment option. In this basic cloud deployment options, let me show you first one diagram. So basically this is one user, and this user is connected to the DNS, and this DNS is connected to the load balancer. So whenever the traffic is being sent, the user understandable language has been converted into the IP address, and it has been sent to the particular server. So before sending, the load balancer is comes in between, which balance all the traffic and distributes among the various servers. And this server in between consists of various app server. So the request can go to this server also, this server also, this server, then this server also, this server also, this server also, this server also, again this server also, and this server also. So again these servers are connected to master server, and then it is connected to the data storage. So suppose the users want to request something from the services. So where the user's request is goes to from passes to the DNS, and from DNS the load balancer, it passes to the load balancers, and from this load balancers it passes to the various interface between the app servers, in between servers. If in between servers consists the response, it will respond back. But if it does not have that particular answer, it will connect to the app server, and then app server, if it consists of response, it will response back. But if even if this app server does not have any response to give, it will connect to the master server, and then when the master servers have the response is set, it will give the particular response to the particular user's requirement. But even if the master server is not the present, or is down or present, so basically it will connect to the data storage, or the information is not available with the master server, it will connect to the data storage, and the information will be retrieved from the data storage, this last one, and it will be this last one, and it will be retrieved to the response to the user. Now suppose this is very much basic cloud deployment option. Suppose now this entire environment, the failover cluster, due to the failover, this entire environment is been down. So what could be the second option? So in this basic cloud deployment option, there is one more backup image is been kept. That means there is one more load balancer, and then again one more, there is servers in between servers, and again there is one more app servers in between, which can connect to this again, same process. There is a full backup image, same that has been what main is been defining, same it has been defined over here. So basically whenever this up1 main cloud clusters get fail over, the entire backup image is been copied over here. If any misplace or the connection has been broken, or the while requesting, and if something happens down services, so the backup which has been image has been defined, the data has been collected from this backup, and the information is fetched to the users. So it takes approximately 1 hour to bring out the data from this backup cloud zones. So basically there will be the two different cloud zones, and these different cloud zones is, the first one is a main cloud zone, and second one is a duplicate, or you can say the duplicate cloud zones. So whenever the failure occurs, this scaled down cloud zones, image will be backup data will be retrieved from this, and it will be responses to the users. As you know, suppose the user request from here, so it somewhere broken out connection over here, so the request will pass to here, and again it will be fetched over this storage, and then the information will be retrieved from here, and again it will pass through here, and response will be get to the user. So this was a basic cloud deployment options. Then comes the second is intermediate cloud deployment option. Intermediate cloud deployment option. So in this intermediate cloud deployment option, so we'll understand through the diagram only. So suppose there is a one user, and here again one DNS has been there, and in this DNS again there is one load balancer, and again it has been connected to the servers, and again the server has been connected to the apps. It contains one of app servers. So again this request can be distributed, traffic has been distributed to wherever it may available free servers, and then again this server has been connected to the master servers, and then again this master servers has been connected to the data storage. So this was the connection. So main cloud zone is been all the application infrastructure web services is connected into the single cloud zone, or the multi in this multi cloud zone. So basically whenever the failure occurs, the entire environment or the duplicate, the entire request or resources is being slide down, it is been slide down to the different cloud zones. Now here also load balancer, again server, then again app server, here request again, here request again, here request again, here request again, request again, here request again, here request again. So basically again it is connected to the master and is connected to the storage. So now this will request, when this failure occur over here, the first main cloud zone, the entire resources will be passed down to the second cloud zone, and this second cloud zone, the middle one request is been not transmitted to here, it has been transmitted to the main cloud zone, because the entire environment or because the fail core cluster has been happened over here, but this cloud zone is been proper functioning, so unaffected cloud zone will take place and the request will transmit from here to here, and then again the retrieve information will be retrieved, and again it will pass from this route only to the users. So sorry for the little clumsy, but I am trying to explain in my best way. Then third comes, in this intermediate cloud zones, the uptime is governed by the multi cloud zone availability. Then third comes advanced cloud zone availability. Advanced cloud zone availability. Now in this advanced cloud zone availability, the users will again connect to the DNS, and again it will connect to the load balancer, again it will connect to the apps, server, server, and again it will connect to the app server. 1 2 3 and again this app server will connect to the master, and again this master will connect to the storage. Now whenever the application, so basically the application infrastructures web services are being set up in the multi cloud zones. So basically whenever this failure occurs into this main cloud zone, the unaffected cloud zone takes place. Now again here load balancer will be connected to the other load balancer, and again here app server is will taken place. Again here app server will consist, again they will be connected over again with free servers, or that where will be the less traffic, and again this connected to the master, and again this will be storage. So rather than they are connecting to this master, they are directly connected to this masters, and this master is connected to this. Even if the failure occur over here, it will connect to this. It will, when a failure occur, it will connect to this, and even if the problem comes in the master, the data will be transferred to this master and the information will be retrieved for the users from this storage. So this is how it works in advanced cloud zone availability. So uptime is governed by advanced cloud zone, uptime is governed by the multi cloud zone availability, cloud provider zone availability, clouds provider multi zone availability. Then comes the what we have till now discussed. For the basic cloud deployment options, then comes the intermediate cloud deployment options, then come the advanced cloud deployment options, then fourth ultimate cloud deployment options. So in this ultimate clouds, the application, web service, infrastructure, and databases are set in the in the different cloud providers, are set in the different cloud providers. So whenever the failure occurs, DNS DNS, this is DNS, and again it is connected to the load balancer, again app app again, sorry, this is server, this is second one is app servers, again it is connected to here, master server, and it is connected to the storage. So whenever the failure occurs, the unaffected cloud zone takes place. That means this cloud zone, entire cloud zone will environment will take place, because if there are the two different providers, and if this first main cloud zone has been affected, then entire resources been shifted to different cloud zone, and this will take place. And this master will connect to here, and this, how this is work. So basically, in order to define one more thing of our advanced and ultimate cloud deployment option is, there will be the no down of services until the both cloud is been affected. Because you can see, if the main cloud has been affected, automatically the second cloud zone, the safe cloud zone, has been taking place in this ultimate cloud zone deployment option. So in order to talk in simple way in cloud deployment options, so what in first saw, basic cloud deployment options. So basic cloud deployment options is in this basic cloud deployment option, the application infrastructures, web services, and databases set in the single cloud zones. So basically, whenever there is a occurrence of a failure, the unaffected, the resources are being scaled down, or the from the unaffected cloud zone, data is been backed up, is been recovered back to the main cloud zone. It might take a 1 hour for recovering back the data, but services will not be down, the services will be continuing. So this is what it defined in the basic cloud deployment options. The resources, it will back up the data from the, it will recover that data from the backup image from the unaffected cloud zones, and it will continue provisions of services to the users. Then second we saw the intermediate cloud zone. Basically, the when it again, whenever there will be the two cloud zones, the resources will be slide down from the main cloud zone to the other cloud zone. So whenever the failure occurs into the main cloud zone, the resources will be slide down to the unaffected cloud zones, and through this unaffected cloud zones second row, it will be connected to the main cloud zone master table, master servers, and then it will be connected to the storage, and here it also it will be connected to the storage. So this is how it works. It is much more important to understand this. And then comes, we have understood the advanced cloud deployment options, and then fourth one we have again saw the ultimate cloud deployment option. So this is what we have covered till now. We have covered the 10 questions from the previous, including the previous session. Yes, one more also was there, market oriented architectures. So I'll discuss it in the next unit. Let me stop here. Thank you.